every political party that comes in power always promises young people that youth empowerment will be the top priorities among its many other priorities. And this has brought about different divergent views from stakeholders and young people because they feel like every political party that wants to form government uses them as the stepping stone to pave way for many other political parties to form government. Good evening and welcome to Topic Talk. This is Topic Talk on Spring 24 TV, and my name is Wando Billy Cheleka. And now, despite young people forming and being the major population of each and every country, they feel left out. And tonight, on today's episode of Topic Talk, we're looking at youth empowerment. Youth empowerment is the topic of discussion. Welcome back. This is Topic Talk, the program that comes on your way every Sunday at 17:30 hours. And this is a program where we bring in two guests to debate and air out their opinions and observations and their comments on the topic of discussion that we normally bring on the table on each and every segment that we have on Topic Talk. And now tonight, my first guest is Mr. Bright Chomba, who is coming from the Third Liberation Movement Party, who is the Vice President. Good evening and welcome to Topic Talk.
Good evening, viewers. Good evening. I'm very happy and excited to be here.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Now, Mr. Bright Chomba, in Zambia, seems like there's a trend in which, whereby if any regime that comes in power, they tend to be preaching about youth empowerment, because youth empowerment is a topic of discussion that we are looking at today. But in regards to youth empowerment, Zambian youths getting a fair share since from every administration that takes government.
Okay, that is very interesting. I don't know if I think I would want to introduce myself. You have introduced my name, but I would also want to introduce where I'm coming from.
Yeah, if we do that.
I'm coming from Third Liberation Movement under the able leadership of Enoch Roosevelt Tonga. Third Liberation, many people ask why Third Liberation. It is coming from way back in 1964 when God started the liberation, the deliverance of this great nation, Zambia. We saw the first liberation where Zambia got independence from colonial masters. That was the first one. And then again, we saw the second one from one-party state to multi-party. So now, this is now the third liberation from economic struggles, man-made suffering. We are here to liberate Zambian people and the youth, of course. So that is all about Third Liberation.
All right. Now, Mr. Bright Chombas, the Third Liberation Party, are you ready to liberate the Zambian youths in regards to youth empowerment? Because we've been seeing this trend for quite a long time. Are Zambian youths getting a fair share in regards to youth empowerment?
The answer is definitely no. They are not getting a fair share. As Third Liberation Movement, you can even see from just an example. I am in my 30s and I happen to be the vice president. I was the running mate in the previous elections, meaning that already we have started involving the youths. I am an example. When you talk of youths, are they getting enough share? Presently, no, because I mean this is now about 6th month or maybe 7th month when UPND got into power, but no single youth has been empowered, not even one. As Third Liberation Movement, we believe that youth empowerment starts from giving jobs to the youths. But what have we seen? No single youth in this great nation has been given employment. So where is youth empowerment? There is nothing.
Yeah, Mr. Chomba, on Monday this week, unemployed doctors regrouped to press the Ministry of Health to give clarity on whether or not all the 800 plus unemployed doctors will be employed. What is your comment in this regard?
This is what I'm talking about. I do not even know why we are discussing it, because I mean it is clear for everyone to see. Even maybe a grade two pupil knows about this thing, that no one has been employed. UPND government promised that they are going to employ about 30,000 civil servants, and you talk about 11,000 health whatever, but not even one has been employed. So where is the youth empowerment? There is nothing. It is zero.
Don't you think these doctors are being impatient? They're not taking their time, and they're not giving the government that enough time, because they've been saying that they are in power for just a short while, and there's no need of pressuring them, because they are working around the clock and they're ensuring that everything will be put in place. Don't you think these doctors are not taking their time?
No. In fact, these guys have been even patient enough. You know, UPND, for UPND to come into power, it's like we entered, people entered into an agreement, you understand? The UPND said, I'm going to employ you. Once I get into power, I'm going to employ you, you understand? And then these people and all these 2.8 million you're talking about voted for UPND based on that promise which they gave to the youths, to the doctors, to the nurses, to the teachers, that once they form government, they will be employed. We heard somewhere in last year they were saying they're going to, January, they are going to employ once their budget start working. And here we are. This is March. Not even a single doctor, not even a single teacher has been employed. So can you say they're not patient? They have been so patient with this government. The only thing which is there is no political will. You understand? There is no political will. So when you talk of youth empowerment, these guys not being patient, no, they are
now,
very patient.
When you talk about political will, what exactly do you mean?
You see, leadership is inborn. You understand? Just like business, you understand? I can take you back in the days when we were in school. You find that there's this guy comes to school but comes with sweets. Come to school but comes with sweets to sell. Definitely you know that this person is a business minded. Same applies to leadership. Leadership, kuskuru kuja, you're going to see that this person, captain, the other day, prefect, the other day this and that. You even know that this person has got leadership qualities, you understand? This person has got that will to lead people, you understand? So all these problems are happening. These are the problems we are facing all around the world. Lack of political will. Businessmen wanting to become president. Journalists want to become president. Comedian want to become president. A person who's supposed to be a door bouncer at a nightclub wants to become president. A person who's supposed to be a stripper in a nightclub wants to become a lawmaker. So this is the problem we are facing today.
Don't you think that the environment is quite fair for young people if they dream in that way?
Come again?
Don't you think the environment is fair enough for them if we have young people who dream in that way?
No, the environment is not fair. The environment is not fair for young people. I mean, you have seen what UPND has done. It came into power, and who has they employed? They have given jobs to Balis. You understand? Balis. Instead of giving jobs to the youths who voted for them. Mind you, it is the majority youths who voted for UPND. But what have they done? They have given jobs to Balis. Bali giving jobs to Balis.
Well, Mr. Chomba, unfortunately your time is done, but we will be later on joined by Mr. Ezra Ngulube, who is coming from the Alliance, the UPND Alliance, to join us and give out his opinion in regards to the topic that we have at hand. And later on, we'll have our two guests all together to debate this topic further. And later on, we'll be joined by both of them. Welcome back. Before we went on the break, we are talking to Mr. Brighton Chomba, Mr. Bright Chomba, rather, who is the Vice Acting President from the Third Liberation Movement. And now to look at this topic from a different angle, I'm joined by Mr. Ezra Ngulube, who is coming from the UPND Alliance. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening to you, and thanks for having me.
It's good to have you.
Great.
Right. Now, looking at this topic of discussion that we have at hand, youth empowerment, as the UPND administration as an alliance partner, is the Zambian youth getting a fair share in regards to youth empowerment from the current government?
Thank you so much for that brilliant observation or question, rather. And to start with, you know, as Zambians, we have been crying over empowerment. The question is, what is empowerment? What is it that we talk about, or what we mean by saying youth empowerment? Empowerment, to me, it does not start by getting a bus handling to the young people to say, here is a bus. Empowerment, to me, begins the moment the child is born. It's about the brain development. Now, imagine if in Nakudi Pamanda Upajapa Bridge, that's where I grew up from as a child, and then when I'm a youth, I'm given a bus, will I manage it? We saw what used to happen under the Patriotic Front government when they used to say, we have empowered the youth with higher buses. What was the end? It was a disaster. So when you talk of youth empowerment, it begins when the child is born. Brain development. Are they able to grow in such a manner that they are able to be taught, or they are able to be coachable? That's what empowerment starts. That's why empowerment starts from. So at the end of it all, we say, oh, this, give us a bus, or give us money, or give us this. That is the sugarcoating. The real empowerment begins the moment the child is born. That's the way we should focus on at the moment. And other than that, there is need for us as young people to wake up, to buke as young people in this country, Zambia. Because what I mean is simple and straightforward. I'll cite one simple example. Look at the network, the people who came walking all the way from Rwanda, all the shops in our compounds in Karingalinga, in Mtendere, in Mandevo, who are managing them? Okomushtame, Shukomboni, who are managing those shops? Are they not people from Rwanda? Are they Zambians? No. They have created a network of empowerment. They have been taught. That's why they're able to manage. What is occupying our Zambian youths?
Now, Mr. Gluve, you've mentioned of young people that it's up to them to start the first step of being empowered. Now, we're looking at the 800 doctors who are not unemployed, who are unemployed rather. On Monday, we saw them protesting, or rather marching, and they were blocked from reaching the State House. What happened? These young people, they've been empowered with the skills, but they haven't empowered to be employed and given the job that they are tasked with.
Thank you so much for that observation. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity to appeal to my fellow young people who claim to be learned doctors. I want to make an appeal to them to say that let them stop embarrassing themselves. Number one is that they are not the only educated people in Zambia. And they should not bring confusion on a process that is being managed so well. If I recall, the Minister of Finance in Parliament mentioned two aspects of two ministries that they are going to be employing in Zambia. They employed about they spoke about teachers and doctors in the health sector, for that matter. Now, for them to be going around the street to be saying, can you employ us, that is actually not fair to the process, because they have been promised. The government has said we have assessed the situation in the health sector, and there is need to bring in more health personnel to help reduce the ratio between the doctor and the patient. Now, what are they doing? I don't know, maybe somebody sending them. They want to go busy on the street to go and protest for employment. Now, doctors should understand that they are not the only educated people in this country, Zambia. If the doctors today protest, today the drivers also will go to protest. Tomorrow, the journalists, they go to protest. The other day, the engineers, they protest. How will this country be? It will be anarchy. So, for them, they have been promised. What promise of the government promised to the engineers? What promise has the government promised to the journalists? What promise has the government promised to you, people who are working in this studio? So for the doctors, let them be patient enough for the process that is being managed so well. Right now, let me put it this way. The Ministry of Health is suffering from one thing, credibility crisis. The previous government left a lot of damage at the Ministry of Health. And this new Dawn government, under the leadership of President HH, and of course the Minister of Health, Madam Sylvia Masewo, they are doing a recommendable job. They have assured the doctors. What more do they want? They have given assurance. Now for you and I, who are journalists, who have not been promised anything, what is our take? Should we also do the same?
Don't you think these doctors are following the promises that were made by you as the UPND Alliance? Because previously, the previous month, there were statements that were made that they will be considered before the month ends.
That's the whole point. And besides that, let the doctors
but
be
now
aware.
we are in the other month now. The month has almost elapsed now, but we are in another month. What happened?
When the government is employing, it's a process, my dear. It's a process. So the doctor should not be in a hurry as if they're the only employed people in Zambia or unemployed youth in Zambia. All of us needs jobs. But at the end of the day, even them, they're even lucky. I could consider them to be lucky because they have actually been promised. Now, what more as me, I've done IT. I'm an IT expert. What government has it promised when it comes to IT experts? You are a journalist. What government has it promised to do with journalism? But the doctors have been promised and have been assured. So for them to go to the street, they are not being fair to the process. They are not even being fair to the system. And besides that, the people that are misbehaving or who are overzealous doctors, they even list to be blacklisted. I can tell you. Because at the end of the day, the indiscipline they are displaying now, what about when they're in the system? So let them relax. The government is on point.
But for how long are they going
when
to
you
be
talk of for how long,
waiting?
I'm not part of the government in terms of a civil servant. I cannot talk about the processes that take place in these government
but
institutions.
You are part of the UPND.
I agree with you, and right now I can assure you that each line ministry has been given capable people to manage that process, and so far they are managing so well. Let the doctors relax. They're not the only unemployed people in Zambia. We have engineers who also need government jobs. And what does the government promise? There is nothing at the moment. But are the engineers protesting? What are the doctors? So why are they in a hurry? Let them relax. The Ministry of Health, under the leadership of President HH, they are on point. There is a process. They need to assess. As you are aware, these doctors, they didn't graduate 6 months down the line. They graduated some time back. The new dawn is just 6 months down the line. But that's not an excuse. There is even hope that a word of assurance has emerged from the government to assure the doctors that you're going to be employed. They should not be in a hurry. We all need jobs. And you don't need anarchy, whereby today we drive around street, the other day the engineers go to the street, the other day the people who have done computer science, they go to the street. We don't need that kind of approach when it comes to dealing with matters of national interest. Let them engage these offices. They are public offices.
Mr. Ngulube, your time is done, unfortunately, but we will later on be joined by
just to finish,
our other guests so
one more point.
We can debate
yes,
this
just to finish one more point, my brother. The doctors, let them relax. The government is actually working on that process, and sooner or later it will be done. And in the Ministry of Health, you just don't need doctors. We also need drivers. We also need cleaners. All those are part and parcel that constitute medical personnel.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for joining us. We will later on be joined by our other guest, who is Mr. Bright Chomba, who is the acting vice president from the Third Liberation Movement Party, to join us and debate this topic further on. Welcome back. This is Topic Talk, and now we're looking at youth empowerment is the topic of discussion that we're looking at on today's edition of Topic Talk. I'm now joined by our two guests, who happens to be Mr. Bright Chomba, who is the vice acting president of Third Liberation Movement Party, and the other guest is Mr. Israel Ngulube, who is the UPND Alliance. Welcome, gentlemen, to our last segment of our show today.
Thank you so much.
And now the tradition of this show is that each time you would want to respond to the other person, you respond through me. So if you have a question, you ask through me. Then I'll give that chance to each one of you so that we can have that order. And now moving on with our program. The topic of discussion is youth empowerment. This is the topic of discussion that we're looking at. And now I will begin with you, Mr. Ngulube, as alliance partners to the UPND. What empowerment programs have you noticed from the current administration? What empowerment programs have you noticed so far?
First and foremost, there are quite a good number of empowerment programs that are going on around, being conducted by different line ministries. I would cite an example. Felix Mtati was in Eastern Province just few days ago. He was launching an empowerment scheme, and in collaboration with the ICT. where they are empowering drivers. We need skilled drivers to be driving vehicles on our roads, because driving is one of the skills that we can also give to our young people. There is need for young people to be trained in order for them to become, resourceful to contribute to the development of this country. And there are quite a good number in agriculture. There are quite a good number of programs for empowerment that are taking place. There's one thing I just want probably to also highlight to my fellow young people around the country here. The issue that we are facing as a country, in most cases as young people, is lack of information. And I would like to urge also these line ministries as alliance partners to say there is need for them to up the game with regard to information dissemination to most of the young people in these compounds or in the constituencies where we're coming from. Lack of information is what is making young people not to fully get involved in what is taking place. You get what I'm saying? Registering a cooperative as young people, it only takes 10 kwacha. 10 kwacha, which is actually, registering in a cooperative is actually cheaper than kushtaka jiri. So, young people, let's get together. Let's come up with these networks, with these cooperatives. And there is so much that we can obtain from the government as a team. And I gave an example earlier to say, our friends from Rwanda, all the tuntemba around the compounds here in Lusaka, I've witnessed they have been managed by Rwandanese. Where did they come from? They came all the way from Rwanda, and they walked, a good number of them. But today they are managing successful businesses in our compounds, and we are going to buy bread from there. We are going to buy sugar from there. And where we don't have, we're even going to borrow from them. Are we not ashamed as young people in this country, Zambia? And then you see them, discipline is the key. 05, they open the shop. They're closing at 22, 23 hours. But where is our youth at that time? Nishna Blaka, which is uncalled for under the new Dawn government. That's why I spoke earlier on to say empowerment begins with the child development. When we develop a child, we are giving them, we're actually developing them to such a way that they're able to manage these small things. It is from these small things that bigger things come from. We have seen somebody, Isawa Rwanda, Isulaka shop paneba. Later on, he's going with a bicycle. The other day, buys a bus for others. Where is our youth? And our youth, what I'm simply saying is that get involved. Make sure you go to these ministries, knock on the doors to say, what is it that you're able to offer for us young people? And one thing they will tell you, said, open a cooperative. Registering a cooperative, it only takes 10 kwacha, 5 kwacha a bit. You open a cooperative, then once you organize, there's that empowerment that will come your way.
Mr. Ngulube. And now coming back to you, Mr. Chomba, what is your reaction in regards to what Mr. Ngulube has responded to the question in regards to the empowerment programs that he has noticed so far under the UPND administration?
First of all, I want to begin by saying, you see, UPND, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND Alliance were voted into power based on the promises they made to the Zambian people. When you vote us into power, come by 10 hours up, by 14 hours, the dollar is reduced. The Gulf Stream, the presidential jet is sold. The employment of 30,000 teachers, the 11,000 health personnel, all that, you understand? They were asking for a job and they were employed based on those promises they made. That is why I feel so bad when I hear Mr. Ngulube saying, warning the doctors here and there, you see this and that and that. No, it is not supposed to be like that. You see, those guys, all the 2.8 million you're talking about, voted them in based on the promises they made. They have to fulfill the promises. They have to employ them. He's talking about youths who are not ready for these funds. I don't know if their funds are valuable or who don't know what they are doing. You see, he's just from saying Mr. Mutati. Mr. Mutati, in fact, who's holding a position which is supposed to be held by a youth, for that matter. You understand? Is somewhere there, I don't know where he is, and then he's training people how to drive. Go out there and ask the youths, how many youths have got, who are trained drivers, who have got driving licenses? There are plenty. You're failing to employ the civil servants, the teachers, and then you jump on again. You go to want to train these young people how to drive. Can you train? A lot of people know how to drive. They are trained. They have got licenses. There is no need even to go and train them. So what is happening here is Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND alliance, they simply do not know what they are doing. What they're supposed to do is to come out in the open and say, people, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know that it was so difficult to govern. You understand? That is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to apologize because they'll be made accountable for this because it is an agreement. It is a contract. You see, I'll give you this based on this. If you give me a vote, I'll give you this. And then they were given a vote. What have they done?
Now,
Not even a single youth has been employed.
Do you feel the UPND has fulfilled the promises that they've made under the shortest period of time that they've been in power so far? Any promises that you've noticed that they have fulfilled so far?
I do not know about any promises which they have fulfilled. I do not know about anyone. Any. I do not know. Maybe you know one. You can tell me.
But as the opposition political party, as the Third Liberation Movement Party, you're supposed to be aware because Mr. Glove is just for mentioning that they have come up with the project of empowering young people by giving them, is it tankers? Yeah. Are you aware of that?
I am not aware. You see, all this which is happening, listen, if they have given somebody a tanker, it must be maybe a relative of UPND or anybody else. Not just an ordinary citizen. Go out, go to Chawama, go to Kanyama and ask any youth, do you know anything concerning the tanker, whatever? They do not know anything. You understand? So it is nothing. There is nothing out there. Go to Makeni. I don't know, maybe munkala kumayadi mwe endani koni kukanyama kuja mfunseko mayouth ni vichani vamene kuliko vichitika. He's talking about registering, is it making a cooperative? It is just it is 5 I don't know if it is 10 kwacha he's talking about. Yes. He's talking about knocking to the offices of these guys, the ministers. Not long ago, these UPND youths were complaining to say these guys are not picking up funds. If they cannot pick up funds for their own people, can they open the door for an ordinary person from Kanyama? Those are jokes.
Well, thank you so much. Well, Mr. Ngluwe, Mr. Chomba is just from saying that he hasn't noticed any youth empowerment program so far.
It's unfortunate.
And the issue of the tankers that you've mentioned, it's something that doesn't even really exist according to him. What is your take on that?
It's unfortunate. I don't know which planet Mr. Chomba is emerging from. And at the end of the day, whenever we're addressing issues to do with national matters, it's important that we need to be honest with ourselves. And also we need to understand that to anything that happens on this face of the earth, there is a method that is applied. There is a process to it. I don't know whether Mr. Chomba, where is emerging from, the planet is emerging from, whether they plant today, then they harvest, they plant in the morning, then they harvest in the afternoon. That's not how it is. Even Rome wasn't built in a day. And at the end of the day, the New Dawn government has been in power for the past 6 months. And at the end of the day, there are so many things that has to be done. Whenever you want to build a house, you first need to constitute a BQ, a bill of quantities. You need to assess the situation. And running a government is not like running a cantemba. It's a very serious business. A very serious business. My brother can talk the way he's talking here. Being given an opportunity as a young people to say, can you manage this? I don't even know whether he's able to manage, looking at the way he's coming out, because you can tell that somebody is responsible from the way you're able to understand. There's a process to everything that you're trying to push. So when you speak of the programs that the government has put in place, there is number one to assess where is the problem. As these youths from the PF were given buses, the government retrieved them back. Should we repeat the same mistake? I think we need to come up with proper measures on how best can we empower our people. Young people for far too long, we have been crying for two things: jobs and justice. What is it that you have been crying to the governments, that the successful government that they may be, that which we cannot do for ourselves? I've given a simple example of our colleagues who have emerged from a foreign country to this country, Zambia. They are succeeding. What about us?
Now, a follow-up question on the issue of tankers that Mr. Chomba has attributed to say this project and this project of youth empowerment doesn't even exist. He hasn't seen anything like that. Can you mention one of the people that one of the beneficiaries of the tankers project, this project of the tankers.
When you talk of beneficiaries of the tankers and so on and so forth, I'm not privy with the people that have applied to the same process. But one thing I can assure you is that right now there is information that is available. Go at the Ministry of Small Medium Enterprises. Go at the Ministry of Agriculture. Go at the Ministry of Science and Technology. All that information is available. Now, those ministers are not going to come and knock on your door. He spoke about a phone. What about if somebody wants to call my phone just to greet me? I'm in the studio, I won't pick up. So there is a process. It's not about a phone call. Go to the ministry, get the papers. Go to Pakra there. Go and get register. So when you bring, let the document speak on your behalf. Don't be thinking that things will fall in heaven like manna. Time for manna is over. It's time to work. It's time to go with the process. And Mr. Chomba, I can assure you, fellow youths like me, if you want, come through. I want to invite you. It doesn't matter whether you belong to an opposition political party. The number one qualification that each and everyone has is an NRC to become a Zambian. Be part and parcel of the cooperative that we are.
Now coming back.
Where there is nothing.
I'll give you time to
respond. It's me assuring you.
I'll give you time to respond. Now coming back to the issue of doctors who were protesting, Mr. Chomba, the VIP, has mentioned that you have something that seemed like you have now you turned to from the statement that you made and the promises that you made during the campaign period, whereby you promised the doctors that you will employ them within the stipulated time of your budget. And now it seems like you have issued a statement that seems to be you turning from the promises that you made during the campaign period, and now you are saying that these doctors who were protesting, they are now causing confusion. What is your reaction on that?
It's simple and straightforward, and I have no apology about it. The doctors are not the only educated people in Zambia. We have got engineers, we've got journalists, we've got agriculturalists, we have got technologists, we have got all these verticals of people that are educated. You get what I'm saying? And if tomorrow a doctor and most treated was to demonstrate because they're looking for jobs, tomorrow people in agriculture, they also go and protest. How will our street be? There will be anarchy, total anarchy. So the best approach these doctors can do, let them engage. And they're even lucky because the ministry has assured them that they're going to be employed. Now, when we talk about employing people in the health, I'm not a spokesperson for the Ministry of Health. I'm coming from the political perspective. When we speak about we're going to employ people to work at this studio, for example, even a garden boy is very important. Even a cleaner is very important because you're not going to sit down in a studio that is messy or that is dirty. So all those constitute part of the health workers. They're not only doctors that will be employed. Drivers are needed to ferry medicine from point A to point B. Drivers will be needed to be driving ambulances. We need cleaners to be making sure that the wards, where the environment where the doctors, nurses are operating from, they are clean. So that's a statement that came. It didn't just come that only doctors will be employed. They said they're going to employ health workers. And when you talk of health workers, it also includes that security guard who makes sure that the infrastructure is protected. That's the whole thing. So we should not just speak of doctors. That is a drop in an ocean.
All right, thank you so much for that response. And now, Mr. Chomba, what is your response to that? You were almost saying something. Can you go ahead with what you wanted to say?
You see, the issue of saying, no, doctors must wait and follow this and that. Doctors, whatever they are doing it based on what they were told. You understand? The Minister of Health issued a statement, or let me just say the government, the UPND government, saying, come January, once our budget is effected, we are going to employ 30,000 teachers, 11,000. So those guys, they are doing that based on what they were promised. And UPND and Mr. Hakainde, they must not play hide and seek. They must come out in the open and tell these people to say, guys, we didn't know what we were doing. We're sorry. I mean, he's talking about it doesn't come overnight. What can you justify? What is the meaning of? Or was that a deliberate exaggeration in trying to emphasize a point which was made by one Mr. Hakainde when he said, we are swanning 10 hours, 14 hours, the dollar appreciates? Was that a deliberate exaggeration in trying to emphasize a point? Or was that a joke or something like that? Those are the issues. He must come out and explain to the people of Zambia to say, guys, this is what is happening. We didn't know what is or what is in there. You understand? He's talking about the PF, everything. You know, these guys from UPND Alliance, they're just talking about the PF. And then and then you're just talking about the other guy. This and this. You're just talking about. Is that normal? They're just talking about PF is buried and dead, and I can assure you, it is not even coming back. It is dead. It is time to work. Focus on your promises. Those guys, the doctors, they use. In fact, me, I would encourage. Even they use from the civil service. Also, they must come and protest. Ask. They have to get what was promised to them. You understand? It is just as simple as that. You understand? If these people have failed to run this government, this Zambia, they must just come out in the open and say, thank
you so much for that response. In case you've just joined us, you're watching Topic Talk on S24 TV. For now, let's take a look at this clip and debate this topic further on.
These are qualified unemployed doctors playing a game called draft that is commonly played by loafers while they wait for results of a meeting being held by their representatives and the Ministry of Health. They say they have been depending on their parents to sustain them while they wait for jobs.
Association and stakeholders from the Ministry of Health. So basically we are here to give the solidarity to our leadership. So we are waiting for the outcome of that meeting. But we notify the police through the office of the IG. So as far as I'm concerned, concerning the permit, we did our part.
So basically, our parents, the same way they were caring for us in school, it's actually quite sad. The same way we continue right now, you need talk time, you need money for anything, you have to ask. We're trying to do anything we can do, trying to run this business, but that's not what we're trying to do. And medicine is an art. We're losing our skills, we're forgetting.
Unemployed, by your question, I think for about 4 to 5 months now. Yes. Then adding on to what has already been said is like subtracting from what has already been said, because we all came here with one message. Despite the numbers that you can see here, we are all representing the 800 of the unemployed doctors.
Police officers called 2 representatives of the doctors while the other doctors waited. After a 2-hour meeting was held by the representatives, who include RDAZ President Dr. Brian Sampa, the doctors were told that the meeting was fruitful.
It was a fruitful meeting. In that meeting, the Public Service Commission has assured us that they are going to consider our plight, and they have asked to that effect for 3 weeks, in which the doctors have to wait and be calm. After that 3 weeks, they are going to give us the feedback on what would have come out after they discuss and try to tackle our issue. After that meeting, we came and had a meeting with the Minister of Health through the PS admin, and we reported what was discussed. As you may be aware, our employers are the Public Service Commission. So they will work together with the Minister of Health and see how best they can handle this problem. And to that effect, we've already communicated with our doctors, and they're agreeable that we are going to give the 3 weeks grace period which has been given.
They are optimistic after the meeting that all 800 unemployed doctors will be employed. The third sustainable development goal is attaining of universal health coverage by 2030. Zambia currently has a doctor-patient ratio that is 1 to 12,000. For S24, I'm Malikana Mulele.
There you have it. That is a report done by Malikana Mulele, who was giving us a report on what transpired between the doctors who were protesting. And now, Mr. Chomba, your quick reaction. I'll give each one of you 30 seconds to react to this clip. In under 30 seconds, your quick reaction to this.
Mr. Chomba.
Mr. Nguluwe, see, actually, Mr. Nguluwe.
Oh, sorry for that, Mr. Nguluwe.
Thank you so much.
For that.
As you heard from that clip that we've just from watching, it's a process. And there's even an assurance that has emerged once again to say their plight of these so-called educated doctors is going to be taken into consideration, which is very important. And it's not only doctors that need employment, it's also people that are into agriculture, engineers, lawyers, journalists and so on and so forth, we all need employment. So what we are simply saying is that let us respect the process, because to anything that you're trying to do, there is a process. And when you talk of government, government has to assess, they should know where it's supposed to be, and also even the process used to be marred by corruption some time back. So we're trying, the New Dawn government is trying by all means to make sure that ngonachoka kwa chama and you're a doctor, go and apply kwa chama, you'll be employed from there. Because we want to make sure that people are being employed within their respective district. That is another advantage, so that we don't just bring good health facilities into Lusaka.
Thank you so much for your reaction. Mr. Chomba, your reaction on that?
What I can simply say is I do not know exactly what transpired in whatever the meeting they had with the doctors, but I want to commend the doctors for coming out. For coming out to protest, and whatever they told you, if they are not going to fulfill it, again come out to protest until they give you what belongs to you. Also, the civil servants must claim what they were promised. It was an agreement. It is a contract. So if a contract must not be broken, so they also must come out and protest so that they can engage these people so that they can be employed.
Thank you so much for your reaction. And now moving on with our program, since the UPND took over the government, the cost of living has kept on increasing according to some data that has been gathered. As an alliance partner, is this what you expected?
Not really. At the end of the day, when you talk of the cost of living, it's not that once I'm an alliance partner, then the cost of living is reduced. No. When you speak of what determines the cost of living, there are so many factors. And one of the factors I hear, what has also been the hot debate, is the fact that when the ERB announced the monthly review of fuel prices, where it was adjusted upwards, there has been so much mixed feelings that has emerged from the people, which is good. And it's important that citizens, they speak out whenever they hear such issues where they're not clear and so on and so forth. But whether we like it or not, in life, this is the reality of life. There are some issues that will happen somewhere else, and whether you like it or not, you're going to be affected in one or the other. And in this case, few weeks ago, per barrel, in terms of oil, it was less than $100. It was less than $100. As we speak right now today, it is fetching somewhere about $113 per barrel. Then, when there is an adjustment of fuel increment upwards in Zambia, and it's not only just in Zambia, even America today, the fuel is almost fetching at $4 per liter. You get what I'm saying? And when you speak of fuel, it triggers the adjustment of price upwards of all the essential commodities. The cost of living has really become really high, and I can assure you that with the leadership of the President HH, he is working tirelessly day in, day night to ensure and make sure that we see to it that we mitigate this cost of living or cost of commodities in Zambia.
In short, Mr. Ngluwe, you're attributing to the high cost of living. You're attributing the high cost of living to the upward adjustment of fuel.
That is one. That is one. When fuel is increased, the sugar that we are consuming in our homes today is not manufactured in Lusaka, it's manufactured in Mazabuka. So for a vehicle that transports sugar from Mazabuka to here, it is paying more. So where will that go? They also adjust. They're also going to adjust the cost of sugar.
Way back during the Patriotic Front regime, we saw Dr. Shimba Kamwid, who was moving around preaching and defending the high cost of living, of which he attributed to the fuel increment. By that time, he attributed this to something which he mentioned to say it's something which is global. And you, as the UPND alliance, by then you were in the opposition, and this was quite a debate, and you are not in agreement to what Dr. Kamwid was saying. Are you now agreeing with him by attributing to this incremental fuel as something which is global?
It's a well-known fact. Zambia, we don't produce any crude oil. We import fuel, and if anything, we import finished product, because Indeni has never been a refinery. It has always been a separator. Zambia has always imported finished products, and at the end of it, the prices of crude oil is not determined by Zambia. It is determined by OPEC countries out there. And at the end of it all, when you look at the price when they hiked the prices.
So now you have agreed to what Dr. Chimbakambwili was preaching by then?
Well, I wouldn't say I would agree to what Dr. Chimbakambwili, that was then. That was the different administration.
And
that
what
we're
of
dealing
now?
with.
Now, what of
right now, this fuel adjustment upwards has been triggered mainly by the war that is taking place in Russia. And if you know that Russia is one of the major producers of oil globally. So because of that war that is between Russia and Ukraine, it has
so
also
is it
triggered.
A yes or no?
Regarding the fuel.
Yes.
Fuel, indeed, the fuel price. The fuel price.
It's now attributed to
the fuel price
that
has
Dr.
actually
Chimbakam was
triggered the increase in commodity prices, and which is a global phenomenon as we are speaking right now. And besides that, not only that, there could also be other aspects that could also contribute to that. But fuel, as it is right now, is one of the major ones.
Now, coming back to you, Mr. Chomba, your reaction to the high cost of living that is being experienced under the UPND administration, your quick reaction on that, and what Mr. Angluwe has responded to.
The cost of living indeed is beyond, I don't know what I can say. It is very high. It comes back to the same. When UPND was in opposition, we saw even, it is there where the president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, the opposition leader by then, had a plan, talking about this, how he's going to do this and this and this. Here we are, he's the head of state. Fuel did not increase after the Iraqi or Russia-Ukraine thing.
Invasion.
It increased before that. There you go. You have seen Mr. Ngulube now. He's talking about Russia, and whatever Ukraine. You are going to hear every UPND alliance now member will be just attributing it to Russia. Russia. Manje pamene vinaya amba vija vindu. But apamanje muzambira wonse vazambo kamba. It is Russia. It is Ukraine. Yesterday they were talking about it. It is PF. It is PF. Now they have moved from PF now to Russia, Ukraine. It is coming back to the same issue of lack of political will, not having a plan, a good plan. You see, not having a good plan at all. We have Angola there; they produce fuel. Have they engaged them? Have they done anything? What are they doing? They are doing literally nothing. It calls for all people of Zambia to now understand what type of people they voted into power. You understand? What measures are they putting in place? Today you hear the ministers are not staying in government homes. They are living in their luxury houses, drawing a salary, housing allowances, including the president himself. How can you feel yourself? You employ someone, and it is mandatory for that person you have employed to live in that particular house. And then when that person has gotten a job and then he refused to go and live in that particular house, what can you do? Simplify him, isn't it? So now you see that, including the president himself, he has refused. Why? Because leadership is service. You understand? Leadership is service. You understand? You have to deny yourself. You understand? If there were any means they could have done, maybe the Kasama house there. If at all there was political will, the Kasama house, maybe we hear the president to say, we'll put it on rent, and the money which will be coming from there, it will go to the treasury. These other ministers, okay, we'll move into government houses, and then the houses will put it on rent. The money, you will see that people have got political will. But what is happening? They are draining the treasury. They are sucking the treasury even more and more. We heard when UPND Alliance come into power, these guys will be driving Corollas, RAV4s, whatever. They are driving expensive cars, consuming a lot of fuel. So what are they doing? Nothing at all. No political will at all. You understand?
Now, Mr. Chomba, thank you so much for that response. Now, before we move on to the next item, what could be the possible a solution and measures that you would put in place at the Third Liberation Movement in order and making sure that the cost of living is being lowered?
You see, as Third Liberation Movement, the only way out is agriculture. 100% agriculture. in the first place, we were not even supposed, UPN, the Alliance, were not even supposed to go there to beg for resources from IMF. No, they were supposed to sit down and see how best they can get this economy running at its best. 100% agriculture. Those DAs you are talking about, they're simply doing nothing. They're supposed to be turned into district farm managers. You understand? We should have at least we should have a farm at least in every district, and those district administrators, the people are supposed to be supervising that. Unlike what is happening, there is nothing which is happening there. So it is going back to the farm, 100% going back to the farm. Reduce the taxes of these agriculture equipments so that each and every person must go back to the farm. That is the only way out.
Now, coming to the issue of the CDF, this is for you, Mr. Chomba. From your view, how will the 25.7 million kwacha CDF to uplift the welfare of unemployed youths, women in the 156 constituencies before we move on to Mr. Ngulube, the issue of the CDF?
In the first place, the issue of the CDF, who does it benefit in the first place? Who is the beneficiary of the CDF? It is the UPND. Are the beneficiaries. You understand? Me who is coming from the opposition, it is very difficult for me to access this kind of the funding. Why? Because the top, you see, when we went into an election, there was UPND, there was these other political parties, the Third Liberation Movement, the Leadership Movement, the Socialist Party, all these other political parties, you understand? They had followers, you understand? There are people who followed them, there are people who voted for them, you understand? So what was supposed to be done is the head of state to bring these people, all these leaders of opposition parties, and sit them down to say, what are we going to do so that we help our people? You understand? So now there is nothing like that. So meaning that when there is any opportunity which comes, it is for the ruling party. Any opportunity which comes, it is for the ruling party. So the opposition, Kulibe, so even in CDF fund, I mean, they talk about it, we have increased this and this. Nothing is happening. Like in my community, there is nothing. I'm not even aware of anything which is happening.
Thank you so much for that response. And now, Mr. Glue, what is your response to that?
First and foremost, now I understand the level of my colleague whom we're debating with in terms of understanding. First and foremost, he spoke about we can easily get oil in Angola. Angola, they produce crude oil, yes, but they don't produce, there's no refinery to refine the crude oil into finished product. So when you talk of Zambia getting crude oil from Angola, even in Zambia we don't have a refinery. We only have Indeni separator. Indeni deals with finished products. So should not mislead yourself and should not mislead the viewers to say we can easily get fuel from Angola. Angola, they produce crude oil, they take it out of Angola to be processed, then comes back as a finished product. So is the case of Zambia.
But there is still something which must be done.
My point exactly. Yeah. My point exactly. And this is what we're trying to preach to the viewers out there, to say we should be truthful to ourselves and be truthful to the viewers. So speaking of fuel, yes, Angola is a nearby. We need to recapitalize Indeni in order to make it viable for us to be able to be buying crude oil from Angola, bring it to Zambia, process it, then able to sell not just for the Zambian market, but also for the entire sub-region. And apart from that, when we reach that level, in crude oil, there are other byproducts, such as the one that supports the plastic industries, the one that produces the bitumen, and other products, including urea fertilizer. It's a byproduct of a crude oil. So the reason why we are not doing this, these are historical problems that we are facing as a country. And to redeem ourselves and way forward, it won't happen within a day. And right now, I have stopped looking things from a political perspective and now face the reality. And when you're facing the reality, that's the only way we are going to reach the desired result that we are looking forward to. Speaking of CDF that you spoke about, the CDF at some point in the previous regime, it used to be 1.4 million kwacha. Under the New Dawn government, it has been increased to 25 million kwacha. Now, the issue is that there was a pronouncement that I can give you in case you haven't seen this opportunity. Let me help you to see it. Number one, the government made a pronouncement that we are not going to import desks from anywhere in the world. Those desks shall be made locally. Don't you see an opportunity there, my brother?
Who is making those desks?
Excuse me, I'm coming to that part. So when the government said that we're not going to be importing desks, that's where the issue of the cooperative comes in, the issue of making a limited or a business name company comes in. Then within the constituency, this money is supposed to be dispersed within the constituency. Unless you don't live in any of the constituencies in Zambia, then I would doubt where you live. But as for me, who lives in Nari constituency, I'm working towards making sure that I've seen an opportunity. Oh, guys, come together. Let us identify each other's skills. If I'm a welder, I'm a carpenter, or me, I'm an accountant, or me, I'm a manager. Let's come together, come up with a company, then be making desks within the constituency and be able to make sure that my children, as they go to the schools within Manari constituency, they are sitting on strong desks made by ourselves for our children's children.
Well, Mr. Ngwe, thank you so much for that response. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of our program and now we're running out of time. Now, before we go, your last remarks. I'll start with you, Mr. Chomba, your final word.
My final words goes to the youths. Youths, wake up. You must wake up and get involved in the governance system. Get involved. Don't just sit there and maybe drink and do all these other things. Get involved. Know what is happening. See what opportunities is there, what opportunities is not there. So, unlike you, Kunkara Chabi, you have to get involved, including Christians. You see, Christians also, you have that mentality to say, no, politics is a dirty game. Politics is a game, is not good for Christians. You see, when we talk of David, talk of Joseph, talk about all these other great leaders.
Your time is up.
They were Christians. If we have people who are God-fearing in these governance systems, everything will be okay.
Thank you so much for your final remarks. And now, Mr. Ngulube, your final word.
Thank you so much. I'm coming from National Restoration Party, which is a member of the UPND Alliance. And one of our motto is, get involved. As young people of this great country, Zambia, let us come out from politicizing everything and let us face life as it is. Let us face the reality as it is. And let us make sure that we practice politics of engagement other than of politics of the street. Because at the end of the day, it is the street that has made us to be where we are today. This New Dawn government under the leadership of HH means well to the people of Zambia. It's just a matter of time. Zambia shall begin to see the result. I rest my case.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming through. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you on Topic-Ralk. Thank you so much for coming through.
My brother.
This has been Topic-Ralk on S24 TV. Thank you so much for watching. Do join us next time as we'll be coming on the screen with another interesting topic. Goodbye.